Thank you very much. Again, my name is Chris Keaveney. I can't see myself. I'm sorry. Hopefully you can see me. I can't see myself, unfortunately, in this presentation. But thank you very much, and I'll get started and introduce our program. Before I do that, just a few things to share. Um, can you see this? Is it full screen? I'm sorry, just to make sure this is working. I hope that's full screen. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and share this information with you. Maybe I think I have to make it full screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Again,
Professor Keaveney, I don't
yes.
think your screen is shared.
Oh, it's not shared. Okay, let me do that
Yeah, we
again. My
only see you.
apologies. Okay, thank you. Share that again. And there. Thank you. My
Okay,
apologies. Thank you very much.
that's all.
So play from start. Thank you. Thank you very much. So again, my name is Chris Keaveney, and I'm a professor in the Global Liberal Arts program at Rikkyo, and also involved in the Organization for Global Initiatives. Before we get started with the presentation proper, a few pieces of information. You're here because you're obviously interested in studying in Japan, and you know the advantages of studying in Japan. Just to remind you of a few things. There's a high level of education associated with higher education in Japan. The cost of living is relatively inexpensive. For example, food prices in Japan are considerably lower for many items than in the USA and UK. This was not the case when I came to Japan 40 years ago, but Japan, in fact, is very, the dollar goes a long way, as you know, with the current exchange rate. There is, of course, also no tipping in Japan, and that's remarkably important. When you come to Japan, you go out to eat and don't have to worry about tipping. There's also the advantage of, despite the fact that it's a relatively compact and travel and a country in which you can travel quite easily, it has a lot of regional differences, and those regional differences can be experienced in during a student's 4 years in Japan. Mount Fuji, of course, Kyoto, of course, we heard about a moment ago in the previous presentation, a great place. But there are also great places off the beaten track, just wonderful locations to visit, some of the most dynamic cities in the world, and also countryside. It's a country which I think, like no other country perhaps, combines popular culture and traditional cultures in ways that are quite fascinating. And again, you see evidence of this in daily life. The other thing is, of course, it's a very clean and safe place. It's ranked one of the safest places in the world. You can I regularly walk by in my neighborhood places where people sell items, just for example, produce, and you pay just according to the honor system. And again, that's quite unusual. The cleanliness of Japan, of course, is legendary. And the Shinkansen, this 7-minute miracle, they clean this train, which is essentially the size of an airplane, in a matter of just minutes. For that reason, it's not surprising that Japan is ranked one of the most desirable and attractive destinations for travelers. In fact, Condé Nast, which produces a number of travel magazines, in fact, ranks Japan as the most attractive city in the world, the destination that the greatest number of travelers want to visit. And along with that, Tokyo, the city of Tokyo, where Rikkyo is located, is considered the best cities in the world to visit after only Singapore. And so the numbers don't lie. I mean, there were nearly 20 million visitors to Japan last year, and this year I think they'll reach that same plateau. Japan is a very popular destination. So for those who live here, students, if you live here for 4 years, you again come in contact with one of the most exciting and vibrant cities in the world. It's also, despite the fact that that's one of the largest cities in the world, the largest perhaps, depending on how you measure it. It's a remarkably easy place to navigate, in part because of the tremendous system of the train and subway system in the city. There are 720 stations, if you include both train stations and subway stations in the city. And it seems like it would be impossible to navigate, but in fact, it's very easy once you get the hang of it. and trains run very regularly. And I never have to wait for, and I take the train every day, more than 5 minutes for a train. In fact, if I have to wait 5 minutes, I feel like like I'm waiting forever. So it's a place you can get around very easily, and if you, and of course, Tokyo becomes a starting point then to visit other places in Japan and around the world. It's very easy to navigate the city using public transportation. I'd like to get into the presentation proper now by talking a little bit about the university first. We'll talk about the Peace Program after that, student support and career support. We'll talk about student life and housing, costs of an education at Rikkyo, scholarship opportunities, and finally a little bit about admission requirements and schedule later. Let me start with a little bit about Rikkyo. First of all, by Japanese standards, Rikkyo University is a very old university, by any standards, in fact, but especially by Japanese standards. We're celebrating our sesquicentennial this year, 150th, fancy way of saying 150th anniversary. And there's all kinds of events to celebrate that milestone, 150 years in Tokyo. It was the university was founded in 1874, 150 years ago, by an American bishop named Channing Moore Williams. He was and then known as Anglican and Episcopalian minister who founded the university as a very small private school with only a small handful of students that taught the Bible and English, but quickly spread into other disciplines. And by the beginning of the 20th century, it was already a very a vibrant place and became a university. Was granted certification as a university in 1922, I believe. So between 1915 and 1922, the entire education was conducted in English. So these new programs, which I'll describe today, build on that long tradition of English language education. Again, founded 1874. It's founded on Christian principles. So it's not a Christian university in the sense that there's no a need to take any kind of vow or to it welcomes students with different backgrounds, but it's a Christian humanistic tradition. We're a private liberal arts institution, and we're a large institution with nearly 20,000 undergraduates. We also have over 1,000 graduate students on our two campuses, and nearly over 1,000 international students as of this year. And that means that the campus is a very vibrant place with students from a variety of backgrounds. A couple more numbers to get started. We have been ranked number one, as high as number one among private universities for international outlook, and that's by the World University Ranking. And we have been ranked as high as in 2020, number three, best private universities in Japan. Maybe because of that, we have a very high employment rate. That means at the time of graduation, nearly 98% of our students already have a firm job offer in place. A couple more numbers. We have, again, 20,000 students, over 2,500 faculty and staff, over 1,000 international students. We also have 260 overseas partners. Now, we'll talk more about these programs today, the Peace programs and the specific study abroad sites where students go. We have over 2 million volumes in our library. We have two campuses, and I'll introduce both of them briefly. The first is the Ikebukuro campus, which is our main campus. We also have a second campus in Niza, which is located in Saitama Prefecture. Both are within 40 minutes of each other, and both have very easy access to our two international airports, Narita and Haneda, so easy to get in and out from the university. I think Ikebukuro probably needs no introduction, but it's the second largest train station in Japan, which means it's the second largest train station in the world. The first is Shinjuku, of course. We have 2.6 million people come through the turnstiles every day. So it's really a remarkably busy area, but our campus is kind of an oasis, just 5 minutes away from the train station. You can see the campus here. It is, by any sense, a very beautiful traditional campus. We survived both the earthquake in 1923, as you know, the Great Kanto earthquake, and also aerial bombing during World War II. So it is really a beautiful historical campus, and it's Ivy covered, so you have this Ivy League feel when you come on the campus. It's right in the middle of again, very vibrant section of Tokyo, one of the hubs of Tokyo, but it feels again a world away. The second campus, Niza, is located about, again, 35, 40 minutes away from Ikebukuro. We have five programs there. Five faculties are on the Niza campus. And this is where sporting, among other things, our sports and wellness programs located. So many of the sports teams play there. So during the last Olympics, the Brazilian delegation used Niza as its training facilities. Again, it's about 35 to 40 minutes away. What I'd like to do now is to introduce again, the topic of the day, which is our PEACE program, our new, relatively new English language initiative for undergraduates. With the PEACE program, we'll talk more about the enrollment in a moment, but students can enroll for either for entry in either April or September. The PEACE program initiative contains, in fact, three different programs, and again, it's conducted. These three programs, undergraduate programs, are conducted entirely in English, and students can enter either during April or September. The first one is Intercultural Communication for Global Leadership, formerly known as PEACE CIC, and that's located in the College of Intercultural Communications. The second program, the Global Program of the Department of International Business Law, is located in the College of Law and Politics. And the final program, Global Liberal Arts Program, is a standalone, independent program. That's a program in which I teach. The first program, again, I just mentioned, is the Intercultural Communication for Global Leadership Program, fosters the ability to propose solutions to increasingly diverse and complex societies. And this program is really focused on language and cultural understanding. Students choose a concentration in one of four different fields. They include language studies, translation and interpreting studies, communication studies, global studies. Students can choose from among any of these four areas. There are dozens of study abroad options. We'll talk about those in a moment. The second program is the Global Program of the Department of International Business Law in the College of Law and Politics, which hones students' legal knowledge and skills. Students learn how to conduct trade negotiations, to resolve disputes from a legal perspective, and how to, and this is the term they use, to develop the legal mind to compare different legal systems. It's a comparative approach. They have direct relationships with the University of Oxford in Great Britain and the Singapore Management University. The program which I teach is the Global Liberal Arts Program. Again, it's an independent program, standalone program, and it's a liberal arts education that's founded on the tradition of liberal arts, for which Rikkyo has been well known for the past 150 years. Students choose a major concentration from among these three areas: business, citizenship, and humanities. A couple of features of GLAP is that one is it's a late specialization. So students get that firm liberal arts education at the beginning. They study abroad. They're strongly encouraged to study abroad. And we have, I'll talk about study abroad in a moment, and we have small class sizes, about 12 to 15. Study abroad is, in fact, an important part of all three of these programs. For GLAP, we have about 30 direct relationships with institutions in Europe, North America, and Asia, and students usually study for an academic year, although PEACE students can study for one semester if they want, for a year, or they can choose not to study abroad. But it's a great way, if you study in Japan, to be able to then study, for example, in Europe is really a great opportunity, and this is a very central part of our program. For all three of the PEACE programs, they're characterized by small class sizes, usually fewer than 50 students. 15, and between 12 and 15 is probably average, and some are even smaller than that. Again, study abroad is a very important part of all three programs. We have, again, 260 programs at the university level, but for each of these programs, we have specific programs that we choose that we think match our educational goals, and students go on via these exchanges. We're talking tomorrow to one of our partners, St. Thomas University in Canada, and again, this is one of our very important partners, and we always exchange information, so we know our students are well taken care of there, and their students will be well taken care of here. I'd like to talk about taking care of students. We'd like to talk about students in career support a little bit as well. First of all, for our Peace students, students are required to live in a dormitory for their first year. And we have several options, and I'll show you that in a moment, but it's a requirement for a first. You want to make sure that they get adjusted to life in Japan. Thereafter, of course, we support them in sophomore year. Thereafter, students can live in student housing or out off campus, but for the first year, we require them to live in a dormitory. There's an international office that provides help with housing, scholarships, immigration. Students can walk in and simply get the help that they need. And there's an orientation, or sometimes more than one orientation for incoming students. We have, for example, we have an orientation for Peace students, and we also have an orientation for all incoming students to help them get adjusted to life in Japan. There's a clinic on campus for to help with again any kind of physical or mental health issues. We have student counseling available in English. We have an office that provides support for students with disabilities, recognized disabilities. And we also have a center for Japanese language for students who enrolled in the Japanese classes to get, for example, one-on-one tutoring and other support. Career support is extremely important. We certainly want students to think about doing an internship while they're here, and we also understand that students need support when it comes time to graduate and begin to look for a career. So the Career Center provides personal advice to all students, and we have a special seminar. We recognize the needs of international students are different than those of Japanese students, so we have a special seminar for international students. There are also, as I mentioned, internships are something that every student should consider during the 4 years of university. And we have a number of internships at the departmental level. But there's also one that's interesting. It's called the overseas internship. And this actually allows students to complete an internship overseas at one of a number of designated companies and receive academic credit, all of which would take place during one of our vacation times. What do students do after they graduate? Well, these programs are brand new, but the one that's been around the longest is the one I teach, in which I teach the Global Liberal Arts program. So most students are employed. I can tell you most students have received a job offer, are employed at the time of graduation, great majority. And possible careers in all of these three programs would include sales, of course, foreign civil service, UN staff, international volunteer, NGO, embassy staff, among others. But there's really no limit to the kind of careers students can pursue. For example, we have graduates who are working for McKinsey and Company Financial, which is a Chicago-based financial firm. We have students working for LVMH, which is as you probably know, is a fashion conglomerate, which oversees a number of brands, which are very familiar to you. We also have a student who's working for Dyson here in Tokyo, and I think Dyson needs no introduction. And we also I have another student who's working for Yamaha. Among the current seniors, I've talked to them, and we have one who's got a job lined up with Morgan Stanley, one of the truly important investment firms based in the United States, as you know. And then another student will be working for Singapore Air. And these are just a few that I've spoken to recently. But like I said, the great majority of students have a career lined up by the time to graduate. But we also have students who go on to graduate school, and we currently have students in Great Britain studying Great Britain, the United States, Korea, and Japan, and they've been accepted to some of the most prestigious graduate schools in the world, including Oxford, Stanford, Columbia, Johns Hopkins, University of Edinburgh. Again, you can find out more about this, but by going online and communicating with us. But again, we're very proud that our graduates are doing great things. I'd like to talk a little bit now about student life housing and just a few things. There's so much we could say about this, but the great majority of our students are involved in some capacity outside of the classroom, clubs, circles, sports and recreation. We have the Global Lounge, which is a place where Japanese students get together with international students. So students are involved in a variety of activities, all of which they find out about on the first day, this Gakuensai, this kind of club day, to find out all about all our exciting activities. Housing, as I said, students are required to live for the first year in a dormitory. One example is DK House in Nerima. It's about 30 minutes from our main campus in Ikebukuro. But there are other dormitories as well. They're all located within 30 minutes, in fact. along with professional staff. There's a resident supporter who provides support for our students, and living options and thereafter include private housing, share houses, other student-based housing. I want to talk a little bit about something very important, which is the costs of a Rikkyo education and scholarship opportunities. So these are the costs for the coming year I'll just express it in US dollars at the current rate of about 150 yen per dollar. So the cost of an academic year in the Intercultural Communication for Global Leadership program is a little less than $8,000. For the Global Program Department of International Business Law, it's about $8,500. And for the Global Liberal Arts program, it's very small. We have very hands-on advising, study abroad. It's a little more expensive, but then even there, it's about $12,500, something like that. Housing then is is required, as we said, for first-year students, about 64,000 yen, which is less than 450 US dollars. That's the average. Now, compare this, of course, with the education. You know this, you've done your research. United States average cost for a private university is $42,000. And you can see that the cost at Rikkyo, but in fact, all Japanese universities, but in our university is about a third or even a quarter of the cost. And the news gets better because we also have scholarships available. We have, for incoming students, we have a special scholarship set aside called the Rikkyo Promising Future Scholarship. There are 10 of these available, and it's 1 million Japanese yen for 2 semesters, or for the first 3 semesters, if you enroll in September, 1,500,000, which is again 10,000 US dollars. And that, again, given the low cost of tuition, it really defrays the cost of a Rikkyo education. Please understand that you cannot be combined with other scholarships, and they're not available to those who have Japanese nationality. So keep that in mind. The other scholarship thereafter from 2nd and 4th year is the Rikkyo Exceptional Student Scholarship. There are 30 of these available, 5 at the rate of 800,000 Japanese yen and 25 at the rate of 600,000 Japanese yen. Again, these are based on student performance, and they're not available, again, to those who have a Japanese passport, but determined by selection based on your performance. And again, they help to defray the cost of an education for our students. A little bit about the admission requirements. We do require test scores. I do need to say that. The application is underway right now. So if you're interested in applying, you can apply right now for admission for April or for September, for either April or September admission. The deadline is November 28th for this first round. So keep that in mind, and you'll be notified in January. However, if you're not quite ready, you want to think about it, we have a second round of applications. You can see the dates over there. It opens in January 20th, and it closes on February 10th. So again, if you're ready to apply now, we certainly encourage you to do that, but if you need more time with the second round. In terms of the requirements, we do require tests, and for admission to the program, SAT of 1170 with an English section of at least 600, or ACT 24, English section 25. To be eligible for the scholarship, though, the score for SAT would be 1250 with an English section of 650, ACT 26, English section 27. So again, we do have that requirement, so keep that in mind. There are some points down below. You can see TOEFL scores as well down below. The application is conducted entirely online, so if you're ready to apply, we certainly encourage you to use the QR code provided here. The QR code is also available on our website, and you can also go directly to just go into Rikkyo in Peace, and you'll be able to access that. I think my colleagues, I should have mentioned, who are answering these questions, are making that available as well. So thank you very much to them. I should have mentioned at the beginning. Christmas is a very special time at Rikkyo because we are an institution with a strong Christian foundation. We have these two huge, I think they're called Siberian Himalayas. Himalayan cedars right in front of our main building. And the Christmas lights have been put on. They went on last week. I saw them put up. They're huge trees. And so Christmas then becomes a very special time. We have the Messiah is performed by our choir on campus. We have a chapel that has Christmas services. So it's really a special, solemn, but also a very beautiful time on our campus. And I encourage you to Google that. You can probably see live shots of the campus, I think, as well. If you have any further questions, of course, I know those questions are being answered right now by my colleagues online, but you're also encouraged to go directly to this website and ask questions of this. There's also a great video. I didn't show any videos. I'm sorry. I was talking a lot. I had a lot of things to say, but there's a really great video called "A Day in the Life of the Peace Students." And if you were to Google that, I think it's again available on our website. You'll find that, and also probably just to find it online. It really gives a good sense of what our peace students do in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So please, if you get a chance, access that video to see what life is like for our students. I'm going to stop there, close this out, stop sharing. And again, we have the questions are being answered by my colleagues right now. If I were to open that up and look, there are some number of questions here. I'm going to answer one or two since I have a minute. So do we have 4-year guaranteed housing? We don't, but we do again require it and guarantee it for the first year. Thereafter, students generally get together and they find housing together. I'm working with one of our current Peace students. She's an American student, and she got an apartment. I helped her a little bit and pushed her in the right direction. Students sometimes find housing together. So housing is remarkably inexpensive here for a city this size. It's really great. But we do help students in that respect. Um, I'm looking for STEM programs. Rikkyo University does, of course, have a variety of courses in the STEM fields, but nothing, I'm afraid, in English related to STEM studies. So I see that question here, so I do need to say that. These are all, again, liberal arts, communication, law studies, legal studies. So that tends to be our field. Very good. Other questions? I'm looking here. Computer science, gaming design. Again, the same thing. In our at Rikkyo at least, we don't have that. We do have again, we have in intercultural communications, global studies for global cultural studies for global leaders. We do have language studies, cultural studies, and in both cases we have, and in both GLAP and in the global program, we have business courses, but we don't have anything in computer science. Okay, thank you very much. I think looks like my time is up here, and I'm looking at any more questions we have. Uh, Offering scholarships for Japanese descendants or international applicants with a Japanese passport. Again, as we said with the Japanese passport, students certainly can apply for admission to our programs, but generally speaking, for a peace program, this is for students who are not Japanese citizens, do not have Japanese citizenship. So that's you can certainly apply to each of these programs independently, but this really is for those who are non-Japanese passport holders. And again, my colleagues are answering the other questions here, but thank you very much. Continue to ask your questions. Again, we have 3 colleagues who are answering those questions, so we certainly want to respond to all of the questions that you have. We do know that there are other speakers as well after this, so I do want to be conscious of their time. But thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Thank you to the Lighthouse for giving us the opportunity to speak today. And we do appreciate your time to listen to us. And again, we do hope to follow up. If you have any further questions or want to contact us directly with any questions, please do that. Thank you very much.